Error handling. Let's look at error handling. Usually it is a best approach to divide all the errors into broad categories. This is according to Join, which is a company. It is one of the stewards of the Node.js project and have contributed extensively to its code base. Okay, so there are two categories. One is the operational errors, which represent runtime problems experienced by the programs. These are not bugs actually, so these are usually problems with something else like the system itself, or with the system's configuration, or the network, or the remote service. Okay, so some of the examples can be failure to connect to a server, or failure to resolve a host name, or sometimes even invalid user input. Okay, and the second broad category is the programmer errors. So these are the bugs that we code in. Okay, so these are the things that can always be avoided by changing the code. They can never be handled properly, since by definition the code in question itself is broken. So few of the examples would be uh, we get undefined read property, or we have an asynchronous function without a callback, or sometimes an object is passed where an IP address string was expected. Sometimes the URL is wrong. Sometimes the file that we are trying to read does not exist. So actually we are going to cover this in a short while. So let's move on to the code so that we can see how errors can occur. Alright, so I have my Visual Studio Code open. In here I have created a new file called errorhandling.js, and in here I'm going to create a uh, program wherein I will be reading from a file system. Okay, so I'm going to be using the file system module that we have used before. So let me write up the code before and then we can discuss. So I'll say read file. In here I need to give it a path and a callback function. Alright, and here I'll be handling the error and the result. Alright, so as you can see in this code, we are trying to read a file from a file system using the file system module here. This we covered a few minutes ago. So we have our callback function, which is the error first. So if you notice, the first parameter here is the error, which means the first result that it'll return is the error, if there is one. Okay, that's why we need to do the first thing is to check um, if there is an error, and depending on what kind of error it is, we need to handle it, which is why we have an if block here to check if there is an error. So let's run this code. I'm going to save this one more time. Open up the terminal. Now let's run this code and see if we get an error, because which we should, because the path name is wrong. There is no path called /path. Okay, and there is no file on this path, so this is wrong. So we'll definitely get an error. So I will just say node error handling, and I get an error. It says that no such file or directory and open -path. Okay, so this is a distinct error that I got. So this is the error that we got here. So just to show you that this is what's being executed, I'm gonna say there was an error reading the file. All right, let me run that again. All right, so we got this. There was an error reading the file, and the undefined is the second console log which we have kept outside of outside of the if block. I'm sorry, and in here this is definitely undefined because we are not getting anything back. All right, so now that we can further add return keyword if the if statement were to stop. So what we can do is we can just say return and it will stop right here so that it won't execute any further. So if I run this again, let me save this and run this. So if you notice here, the undefined was not logged out because it stopped right within its tracks. Okay, we added the return keyword. Okay, so there you go. This is how you handle errors in Node.js. Now, if you're getting the data from the HTTP request, which we'll see definitely in one of the projects or a couple of the projects, the error handling in that case will be different. So instead of getting an error which says that the file not found, we might get an HTTP error like access denied or connection lost. And depending on what kind of error it is, we'll have to handle it and show the appropriate message in the log so that we can further troubleshoot it. So always remember that always remember to handle your errors and before dealing with data from the callbacks. This is error first format that Node.js callbacks use. All right, so I think we're good with errors. Let's go back to the slides.